Deadly. Well, I'm here with old Mac. If you guys don't know who he is, there's a link right here in the description of old Mac's channel. He's been around. He's older than the moon. This guy here, and he's still kicking it strong, still doing riding hard, and still having a good old time. Um, Mac, you want to speak a little bit about yourself? Where you're from? Where you
Well,
grew up?
I was born in a little coal mining town. I mean, a little town doesn't exist anymore. The coal mines closed up and somewhere in the 70s. It wasn't profitable to mine the coal, and because they had oil and stuff to run the power plants. And so back during our days, coal mining was life. Uh, you only had one choice in life. If you come from a coal mining family, you're going to be associated with the mines. But I got an opportunity. There was a president of the United Mine Workers. His name was John L. Lewis. And they started the program with the union to get some of the people that had really good scoring in school, your academic levels was high, and they opened it up in the southeast, and candidates was chosen to get to go to military school. So I got chosen. I had to do a 2 year probation in the school. They monitored everything I did for 2 years, and then they accepted me into the program. And so I got to go to military school. And so I got a chance to break away from the coal mines because once that was over, I went directly into the Army. When that was over, I went to the West Coast and life started.
Yeah, how old were you then?
Oh, somebody knocking on the door. Come in. Oh, somebody was knocking on the door. When I got out, I had to do 2 years of what they call to meet the Selective Service Board. I got released in '61. My final, I got my discharge in '61, but I had to follow up a couple of years of reserve duty. Because of the draft, it was just getting started, and so they put a hold on me, and I had to keep up with the draft board. When I was 33 years old, I got a draft notice. Uh, by this time, I had a whole lot of kids, and they gave me I don't remember, some kind of a family. In other words, you're qualified, you're eligible, and all that stuff. And in the case of a national emergency, then we'd call you up. But otherwise, you're free to go. So,
Oh, that's pretty nice. And did you want to go into the military pretty badly?
oh yeah, my family's all military. I mean, I've got five of my sons. Three of them reached full retirement. My very first son, he lives in Germany. After he done his tour of duty, he fell in love with a German woman, and he lives in Germany. Here's what happened. He meets this beautiful German woman, but her grandparents were living in East Berlin. And back in them days, I'd rather be dead than red. You might be telling a secret. So they wouldn't let him marry her. He gets out of the army. As soon as he gets discharged, he hopped on a jet plane, flew back to Germany. He's only been back to the States twice. And all the children are all raised up. I've got great grandchildren living in Germany.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's speaking in Dutch.
So are
And
they pretty fluent in English and German?
of course,
Or-
um, his sister came with her family and went to Germany. She decided she wanted to relocate to Germany, and then they have a whole enclave of Southern-speaking Germans over there.
That's pretty funny.
Everybody doing the redneck thing. Y'all come on in, y'all. Hey,
Yeah, and then what made you start doing YouTube?
oh, we were um, doing at the first when we first started out on doing things on the media. We were doing at MySpace, and then there was a big deal came up where some little child somebody talked a little girl into killing herself, and then I went, we don't want to be a part of this kind of crap that was going on. It was really MySpace. You may not even remember it,
Yeah,
but
I do remember that. That was a different type of crew. That's almost like Discord now.
yeah,
Dis-
yeah. So,
Discord's a little different.
so my cousin in Kentucky, she said, "Oh, there's a brand new group called, it's called YouTube. You'll have to look it up." So she gave me the URL, and I was tech savvy because I worked for a large company in computer skills. So I went and looked it up, and I hung around for a while. But I also, at the same time, went over and got involved with Facebook, where all the family went. So we spent a lot of time on Facebook, but then we started doing videos. By 2009, we were already up. I've been doing uploading for 16 years
Yeah, 16 years.
because I did a lot of things. See, I got to do a lot of extensive traveling, and I had a lot of content, and I wanted to share that. And people like to listen about some of the things, so I was posting some of the. I used to take my VHS tapes and convert them to MP3 or
Yeah,
MP4. I'm sorry,
yeah, yeah,
MP4,
yeah.
and then I would upload them up, and sometimes it take 24 hours to upload a video on YouTube
Yeah, back then.
because I was very, very, but we didn't know it slow. I was on Hughes satellite. And here's the deal: time I'd upload one movie, I only had 50, I think it was 50 gigabytes a month, and I would use up my 50 gigabytes by the third or fourth day of the month, and I had nothing.
Yeah,
So,
it'll be gone on you.
yeah. So we're right now 960, 62 or 65 videos that we've uploaded in the 16 years of doing it. A wide range of things from, I hear me and my dog, we're laying right over there. I bought a new Mustang GT, and my wife was into her things and doing stuff. I said, we're going to take the drone, and the dog and I travel 1 year and put on 47,000 miles in the country, flying the drone over all the rivers in America, all your big rivers. Hey, there's 2-4 in here. Or am I
Yeah.
supposed to say that?
No, you can say that. Yeah.
Hey, buddy. So I flew, took me and my dog going around all over the nation, flying over the big rivers and meeting people and making videos, lots of them.
Yeah, all different sorts too.
And then we got it. We was an off road. We've done all the big dunes in America. The last big event we went to St. Anthony's in Idaho. Oh my God! If you ever get a chance to go there, it's spectacular. What's so good about St. Anthony's? If you look over your left shoulder, there's there's Yellowstone sitting there. That's the gateway to the Western Yellowstone,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah, it's just right over there. You can see the all those beautiful mountains from St. Anthony's in the dunes.
yeah,
Spectacular. I got a lot of videos. If you go through any of my videos, you'll see a lot of dune riding and stuff. And they always sponsored me well. They gave me Polaris would always give me something good to ride. So
nice.
I was sponsored by a lot of corporations, and they
Yeah,
would bring me out there and set me up, fly me out first class, give me something really good to ride, and we'd go out and do some big jumps. And I always had a camera. I had cameras mounted out on the front of it, and I had cameras on my shoulder and all that stuff. Just a media nut.
yeah. Like, when do you think like your YouTube really started to take off? Was it like your gun videos?
Guns. Oh, I would go out here. I'd get a new gun. I was sort of like a gun fanatic, and I would get a new gun, and I'd have to go out and try it out. So I'd go out here and I'd shoot it, and that video would be 150,000 hits.
Yeah,
People love the guns. They just love, and I do a lot of trick stuff. I'm first of all, I shoot really good. I have my videos. You see me hitting targets every time I shoot,
yeah.
but I would do other things with a gun, like mount a camera on the stock and get a point of view, a really good looking down the barrel,
Yeah,
and that kind of stuff. Anybody can see a shooting movie, but when you're doing it where people can actually see the boat come back, and
yeah,
I watch
exactly.
it, I've got weapons that hangs on the wall that got long belt fed stuff, and you go out there and put 200 or 300 rounds down in under just a few seconds. And brass would be flying everywhere. People love that kind of stuff, but it's very expensive.
Yeah, yeah,
My
for
buddy
sure.
would come over here and shoot my ammo up, and I told him, "You come back over, you bring your own ammo. I'm cheap.
Yeah, and it's not
I'm
cheap up
Scottish."
here either. That's pretty funny. So,
And you would you like to explore the background of old Mac in his early years after Army?
yeah, let's get into
Truck
that.
driving.
Truck
In the
driving, there
Army,
we go.
I was in supply engineering supply point, and so we handle all of the categories military equipment in the Army. All your big wheeled vehicles, all your track vehicles. We had to load them on rail cars, so I had a lot of experience. And so we got out to the West Coast, and my first job I hired on hauling cotton seed with a set of doubles. Two truck and a trailer. Two trailers,
Yeah,
and hauling cotton seed. And oh my God, you're talking about, you realize how hot cotton seeds are when they come out of the mill. And then you have to pack that truck full of cotton seed, and you're out there trumping it down. And then when you unload it, you have to have this great big suction device to take all the cotton off. Well, we ran up and down the West Coast for a number of years. And one time, my brother and I, we were both working together. He had his rig, I had mine. We ended up in Washington State in the city of Yakima, Washington.
okay,
And
yeah,
we were hauling, by that time, we was hauling lumber across the Rocky Mountains over from Idaho and Wyoming, Montana. We were hauling lumber. And the winters were atrocious. I mean, we had so many mountain passes you had to cross over. So we were in Pasco, Washington, at the scale house waiting for them to open up the scale. Now, the reason the scale was closed, every driver in front of us had already been arrested. The reason being, we were all hauling way over. Yeah, I think Washington at that time had 109,000 gross weight.
yeah,
Most of the trucks were like 129,000 because the wood was wet. You couldn't judge the weight of it, and the
yeah,
trucks were so strong you couldn't tell how heavy it was. And so when I got in, my first trailer, I had 68,000 on the tractor and another 42,000 on the back. And then of course the weight of the truck and everything, I was like 134,000, something like that. Oh hell, they would have put me in prison. But while we were waiting there, a guy comes over and started talking, and there was a strange looking airplane. We were in Pasco, Washington. It's called the Tri Cities: Pasco, Kennewick, and Richland.
okay,
And
Tri-Cities, yeah,
where Richland is at is world. It's a well-known place. That's where the first atomic heavy water was made for the first atomic bomb, the Hanford project, where they made the atomic bomb.
yeah, yeah,
Well, we see this plane come over, and it's really long plane, and it don't have no propellers on it. And it's got jet engines in the back. It had two on the side and one in the middle of the tail. I said, "What is that?" And that guy said, "That's a Boeing plane." I go, "A Boeing plane?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "The company called Boeing makes those airplanes." I said, where do they make those at?" He said, "In Seattle, Washington." So one weekend, we all decided, the four of us was in that line, was all related to one another. Let's go see the airplanes. We went over to Seattle and we watched the airplane. We saw that 727 take off, and it just climbed. I went, "Oh, I've never seen anything like it."
yeah,
But
it just
when
got
we was
close to
coming
you.
out, when we came out from Seattle on the Sheraton Hotel, about a 15, 20-story hotel thing there, it said Boeing hiring. Here's a telephone number. Of course, back in the 60s, now it was the mid 60s, nobody had even heard of a cell phone. So we stopped at the phone booth, and because we didn't want to cross the Rockies this winter. Winter was just fixing to start in, and we didn't want to have to put
Cool.
chains on and take chains off. So we all agreed, let's just see if we can get us a winter job, the winter out the winter in a little factory, changing tires on an airplane or something, and then go back on the road this spring, when the weather's good. So we we called them. They said, yes, if you get in there, we're taking a few more applications. So we got in there. All four of us was interviewed. They gave us an aptitude test of about 2 hours long, and then they selected all four of us. And I said, oh man, we're going to be mechanics. Like checking the dipstick for oil and putting air in the tars. Because, we were NASCAR people. We knew all
Yeah.
about that kind of stuff. So the lady, oh no, you got to go to school. I go, why would you have to go to school? We're master mechanics. We build every car we got. She said, oh no, you got to go and learn how to do it the Bowen way. So it sent us to school for 6 weeks to learn to be a sheet metal mechanic. And you don't
Uh-oh.
turn a wrench. It's all about riveting, bucking rivets.
Yeah.
So old Mac started his career. My brother and I, and my brother-in-law. Now, brother-in-law Ray just passed this year. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, he passed last year. Um, him and I, we started together, and we both got a full retirement. My brother, after a couple of 3 years, he was tired of that whole, because see, you work and then you get laid off because the production line would shut down and Boeing to lay you off for 6 or 8 months, and he got tired of that, and he went ahead and become a diesel mechanic. And so I stayed with them. I just got my 40-year pin.
That's very
uh,
cool.
I stayed with them, and on the wall here, there's projects I can look. We tell you a little something about Boeing. Would you like to learn a little something about Boeing?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I was just gonna ask you what type of stuff did you see there and stuff like
Oh,
that.
let me tell you, you know about the moon buggy. That was one of my projects, but there's some of the things you may not know. Boeing was in the Navy. They didn't just build airplanes, they built ships. Boeing also was a cattle company. They had 10,000 cattle in Boardman, Oregon. They are also leaders in the field of air generation, of windmills for making electricity. In Goldendale, Washington, they made the first American windmills, huge propellers, 10 megawatt things. Um, they were in the lumber. The reason they were so much in lumber, original Bill Bowen, the guy that started the company, he made seaplanes, and all the frame was made out of wood. And they bought thousands and thousands of acres of timberland to build
Okay.
their airplanes with. And they just never gave up with the lumber. They just simply would rent out, to contractors and people that managed the wood products. But they made a lot of money in timber,
Hmm.
and that's the Boeing company. You see them in the sky, and you just think about them in airplanes, but they have a big portfolio of just unimaginable stuff. Space. Um, I spent um, I spent 7 years in what we call the 3D world, three-dimensional world, where everything is done in 3D, three-dimensional stuff. Um, like I say, my first big project was the lunar buggy, and then we built a plane that nobody wanted. It was called the YC-14. For those that love aircraft, look up YC-14. There's a picture of it right there. I can see it really good. The YC-14 had technologies nobody else had ever heard of it. They had stuff called upper surface blow-in, where the engines are mounted above the wing, and when the hot gases go over the wing, it causes lift. It was the size of a C-130, and it could fully loaded. It could take off in the length of a football field. They
Field,
can
yeah.
land in the football field, but take off in a quarter of a mile, around 1,300 feet, fully loaded,
Which
much quicker than anything.
which could be perspectable,
It
and
was
it just
called
never went through.
STAL, short takeoff and landing. And here's what happened: the Russians wanted that airplane in the worst sort of way. And they made a deal. We had a brand new president came in the 80s. Ronald Reagan was his name. And they made a deal with the Russians. They released 9 prisoners, the Russians did, that had been held um, KGB style stuff. It was our
Okay.
spies
Yeah,
versus
they
their
were
spies.
spies.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
it during the B-2 where they shot that spy aircraft down as well?
Yeah, that was in that period of time when
And
the Cold War was at it. That's the reason I spent all them years with the Minuteman Group, where all the national defense with the missile system. Yeah, the B-2, it really they had built a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff that we don't even nobody had ever even heard of. But this airplane got us those 9 of those people released because America said, you ain't going to build that piece of shit because it's too damn noisy. I see America's a sensitive country. They had a thing called the SST, a beautiful supersonic aircraft. The America said, no, we don't want no damn supersonic airplane. Too noisy. So they got rid of our YC-14, gave it to the Russians, and the Russians built 700 of them. They're flying today.
yeah,
Look it
there's
up.
still
Look up YC-14 and see what it looks like, and then look up the Russian version. It's a IL something other for the Russians, and it looks a carbon copy to the YC-14. They didn't even change anything. They didn't have to.
it was
We made it
perfect the
all
way it
nice.
was.
And then, of course, the ships that we built were called PHMs, Pursuit Hydrofoil Missile, PHM. And they're 200 footers. They fly on top of the water. The wing extends, in under the water. The wing unfolds and it lifts the craft up above the water, 15 foot above the surface, and they just fly at classified speeds well over 60 miles per hour. So it can outrun any surface vessel.
Because it's hydrofoiling itself, yeah. So there's less surface area for it to touch.
Oh, yeah, it's got the same size engine that the 747 has for propulsion. It runs a pump. The pump is a good 9 foot inside. If you stepped inside that pumps the water. It's inside dimension and 9 foot. I've been inside the pump and you cannot reach the ceiling of the pump. It's so big. It
Okay.
can move so many tons of water.
And
Those
you're
two big
fairly
jets,
tall, eh?
6'1".
Okay. So yeah, that'd be pretty big for. Oh.
And I got extra long arms. I was born like a orangutan. I ain't kidding you. I, my mama said you can't buy clothes for you. Back during the time when we was at the company, they made us wear suits until about 1977. Everybody in our position had to wear a suit, and I'd buy all these leisure suits. I looked like that Herb Tarlick on WKRP. Had the big wide white belt and the polyester plaid pants and bell bottoms. It was so cool. Button down fly. Yeah, we went through all the changes with the company, and then what happened? The government gave Lockheed a huge contract for a plane called the C-5A, and but they got in over their head. Now Boeing had a bid on it, and we were going to build the C-5A a lot cheaper than Lockheed. But the government went with Lockheed, and then they got into trouble, and they had to send teams of us out to sort out some of the problems that the C-5A had.
So did they give you both sets of plans, like both companies' sets of plans, and then just let you see who could build it cheaper?
The government sent out, this is what we needed. We needed to be able to lift 1 million pounds. It's got to be the biggest, everything bigger than anything ever seen before, and it has to have all the braking systems, and you got to have hard impact landing. You got to have a suspension system on it that where you can lower the craft down to the ground, and they can let a tailgate down, and tanks can come out the back. So it has to be able to kneel down, which commercial airplanes can't do.
No.
So they got in trouble on the visor section. So they sent my team down there, and we went to Marietta, Georgia, and we stayed down there for 6 months. We got the visor where it was supposed to work. The visor on the C-5A, the nose opens up. Boeing had already built a 747 with a visor on it, and they had probably the greatest technology on that kind of hydraulics needed to open and to latch. But when the door shuts, it's got a latch, because you ever had that door, the nose to open up at speed,
You lose everything.
Oh, it'd be nasty. But we got to go down on the C-5, and then they needed us in Wichita, Kansas, we always stayed at whatever military base. At Georgia, it was Dobbins Air Force Base, and so we had to go to Wichita, and they sent us out there on a plane called, what was that thing called? It was a had twin engines. I can just picture the thing today. It could lift its own weight and armament. Um, and the pilot and the co-pilot sat side by side. It's like today equivalent to the um, the aircraft that has that ugly aircraft that has the gun right in the nose.
Um, A1 tank destroyer,
Yeah, that thing.
Warthog.
With the Warthog, yeah,
Yeah.
and uh, this was called the Dragonfly. The Dragonfly was built by the Cessna Corporation, but as military contractors, we had to go to Cessna out to what's called Military Twin Division, and we had to get that production back online because they really needed that Dragonfly, A37 Dragonfly. You can look that one up too. It's a beautiful, well built plane, has the greatest history. It was almost crash proof. And if it went down, maximum speed is only like 400 miles per hour. And they had speed brakes and all that stuff. They were really rugged. A pilot had a good chance of surviving.
Does that have the twin rear wings or twin rear rudders? No.
No, no, it had a T tail on it. The
Oh, okay.
Dragonfly had had the T tail up in the back, but it had the pilot and co-pilot sat side by
Right,
side,
right, right.
and it was really low to the ground. The A37 Dragonfly was just a beautiful built plane, and so we got to spend. I spent a year there, and then they sent us to Kelly Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. Got down there, and they had a problem uh, that we had to go down and sort out. When we spent a year down there in San Antonio, then they sent us to Fairchild up in Spokane, Washington, and we only stayed there till we got the job completed. 6 months, maybe. Beautiful. I mean, if you ever wanted a place to retire where you love four seasons, snow and warm in the summer, but and water so crystal clear you can see 30 feet into it, glacier fed water at Spokane, Washington. And right next to it is Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. That's where I married my fifth wife.
You didn't learn this third time, eh?
I'm glutton for punishment.
So, what's the craziest thing you've seen working for Boeing then? At work or off work?
Saw some people killed that shouldn't have died. They was killed right next to me, so horrible death too. Uh, that's something you see all the. I mean, that's something you just never want to see. Um, Boeing, they have a huge safety record, so you didn't have when somebody got killed at Boeing, it was something special. And then we were cutting edge people of developing stuff. I said we was in the 3D world. The government put a demand on us to develop an alloy that could be in an autoclave. You got to keep in mind when you're doing graphite composite, all of your materials and all your stuff for the fuselage and the wings, it's made of graphite composite. The propellers, the props, it has to go into an autoclave, be brought up to like 900 degrees heat, and a vacuum applied and pull the bubbles out of the epoxy.
Yes.
And otherwise, the wing would delaminate, and it would be a horrible thing. Um, yeah, we had a lot of people in that project that what happened when it was developing the alloy. They followed all the standards that they could go by, but in about 3 years, we began to have people to get sick and start to die. And then women began to lose their babies there at Boeing. Their little babies would be born malformed, and they would be miscarriages, and they got to investigating, and it was the material, the alloy we built. And in all your industrial trade shops, you'll have a book called the MSDS book.
Yeah,
That's
correct.
required by the law in our
Yeah,
America.
hazardous materials safety
Yeah,
standards. Yeah.
that's right. And it has to be where your employees can get to it. And so somebody looked in there and they got to looking at this material is called NVAR 36. And
It's semi reactive.
the NVAR 36 has a lot of cobalt and various other, it has a lot of things to get. Here's what happened it has to be non magnetic steel, and that's hard to do. Stainless, of course, is non-magnetic. Non-magnetic. However, you can make a 514 stainless that is magnetic, and
Yes,
that's what we
correct.
did with the NVAR. We needed to have it to be magnetic, um, and in the process, the materials to make this alloy up, uh, it said right in the MSDS book, grinding of it, the dust from the grinding could cause death. It didn't say it might make you wheeze, you get a little sick around the edges. No, it said could cause death.
Yes.
Maybe even said even stronger. It might even said will cause death. And so they had to go back in, restructure the alloy, take some of the stuff in it. It gave away some of the properties, but it was still being able to be used for the purpose it was intended. If you take a piece of aluminum, let's say you make what's called a layup mandrel, that's where you lay your graphite composite on the top of it so it contour to a shape.
Okay. Yes.
When you lay your composite on this layup mandrel, and it's made out of aluminum, you got what's called steel bushings, hardened steel bushing, where you could put your pins for locators to hold the thing in position while it's in the autoclave.
Yeah.
Well, if you put it in the oven, bring it up to 900 degrees, then bushings, it's called coefficiency expansion. The bushings expanded at a different rate than the aluminum did. So you was always having bushings falling out, and you was always having you could only go in the autoclave maybe 2 or 3 times, and it would be unusable. The tool had no accuracy, no more. So
Hmm.
with the NVAR, you could put the NVAR in the autoclave at 900 degrees 100 times, and you had no deterioration. You didn't have this dissimilarity in the alloys. It didn't cause a variation in the
You're very yeah.
so it was necessary for the standard to have that alloy. I'm not against. I'm not against, but they rushed it so fast. Do you remember how we were so scared of the virus?
Yeah,
They
the
was having
vaccine.
vaccine. Everybody, I done them. I took them, but I kind of worried about it too because they rushed the damn thing. And the polio, they had at least 10 years of time trials before they released, and every kid was taking polio vaccine. And everybody, well, we beat polio and back during our period of time. But with this building this alloy, it was such a rushed up thing, knowing that the space race was on with the Russians and with Chinese and now India and all the other countries are going into space, Japan. With that race going on, we had to be the top leaders, and
You had to push everything to the limits.
that's right. And people started dying. So that to answer your question, that was probably uh, the weirdest thing I've ever saw, where safety protocols are just tossed aside to achieve the goal they needed.
Well, that still happens today.
Yeah, and a lot, unfortunately, well, look at General Motors. They had a key switch that occasionally, if you had a wad of keys hanging on your ring, the
Yeah.
weight of it jingling back and forth would cause it to get
Yeah.
into the stuck position or whatever, and people died. And it was a $7 fix, and they fought that for 5 or 6 years because they didn't want to spend $7 on 20 million vehicles out there.
Yeah.
So losing 20 or 30 people don't mean a lot.
It's funny how a lot of these you hear about them for a bit and then they just disappear until you hear the next lawsuit that comes out.
Well, you wanna see if there's anybody have any questions over there.
Oh, hey Tony, what's up, bud? You have any questions for old Mac here and 2-4? 2-4, you want to ask anything? Tony's a truck driver here. I don't know if you've ever run into Tony.
That's not Tony Mack, is it?
No, no, it's Tourette's trucker.
Oh no, we have
Tony.
Tony from Australia that comes over
Oh,
on the coffee crew.
yeah, yeah.
We
When
always, when he comes in, we all do our best Jersey accent. Hey, Tony! Yeah.
and 2-4's here, you know him from
Oh, of course. He's
Nova
going to be my
Scotia.
vice president when we take over.
Actually, he did say that here. I gotta post that. Uh, there we go.
I got to say this about Canada. We bought a little company up there. Y'all have a little company up there that makes airplanes, and we bought it. My company bought it, and we are so proud of your little company up there.
You
But
mean
infrared,
Avro?
huh?
Avro?
No, it was that's
Trying to remember.
one of your biggest corporations for building aircraft up there. They're still in business today, but we sold it back to Canada. The Canadian government bought it back from Boeing. De Havilland? No, yeah, maybe it was. Yeah, we bought de Havilland, I believe it was. They made the Twin Otter.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, okay, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I believe they're starting a facility in Winnipeg, if I'm correct.
oh,
There's
they're
a
expanding. They're still growing. Oh,
yeah,
and what a great bunch. See, every time we buy a company, they have to send people like myself and others out to teach them the Boeing way, the way we're going to do stuff, the Boeing way. Like here in Alabama, there's over 150 shops in Alabama that make stuff for Boeing, just in a little bitty state of Alabama.
yeah,
And if you go to a state like New York or go to Missouri, you've got a lot of shops building parts. That's and all that stuff comes together in Everett and Renton and Auburn, Washington, the various places where they assemble all the aircraft and missile components. And Canada is no exception. We used to have the best working relationship with Canada when it come to manpower. We loved going to Canada, and they loved coming to America. But we were doing business with Russia back during the Cold War days. It was better to be friends with your enemy than have some kind of a sneak attack.
yeah.
And we were having stuff built in Russia by Russian people. We found out that the Russian people are brilliant people. We always thought of them as just old drunk, vodka swilling dumbass Russians, but no,
That's
man,
where they get their best ideas. Is they're drunk all the time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We run across a lot of good people, and like I say, I was treated to a trip by the Canadian government up to Lake Tasunia, up by Williams Lake in British Columbia. A whole week of just paradise, treated by the Canadian government.
Oh, that's a beautiful part of the country.
Oh, I loved it.
Really
I
cool.
lived up there just right across the border from British Columbia for 40 years, and every ham fest, I'm a ham radio operator. Every ham fest we'd go to, we'd always go up to Vancouver and we'd go over to Victoria. That was my favorite place to go. And of all the places of Canada, Victoria, up at the Bouchard Gardens, yeah, they always put us up nice over there too. The government's a little bit different over in Victoria, even though it's the same country, but it's like going to a foreign country compared to going to Vancouver. It's like a bunch of rednecks in Vancouver, gun-toting rednecks. Like, yeah, you go to Alberta, and ain't nothing but just damn redneck Alabama hillbillies over there. They got
Did you
them damn. Go ahead.
did you ever hear of a fella from Manitoba called Bob Demert? He rebuilt a Japanese Zero and ended up getting screwed over by the what's that Heritage Plane Corp company where they fly B-52s across the country showing them off. What's that company called? Or that corporation?
I know we have down here. We have the Confederate Air Force down here.
Yes, the Confederate Air Force.
And they have a lot of aircraft, and they're stable. Everything you can think of.
Yeah, Bob Demert, he lived in Carmen, Manitoba, just not too far from here. And he went to Oh, I can't remember. He went somewhere in Asia and he dug one out of the forest and rebuilt it in his garage, and then sold it to the Confederate Air Force. But they didn't end up paying him his full amount for the plane.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I'm reading a comment over here. The trucker there, he was making a comment. It's funny to think about Alabama and NASA. Most would never think the backwood Alabamians are smart enough even to be at NASA. But see, that's an advantage. I was up there in the country of in Seattle, and when they heard me talk and everything, they had already had me labeled as one of them damn dumb ass rednecks down there, hell dumber than damn day old chicken shit. And they thought they could take advantage of this old dumbass redneck rebel, you know. And next thing you know, I had the whole organization. It was mine. I was running the operation in that division I was in. And them low laughing suckers had to come and lick my damn balls. I tell you, I couldn't believe it. I loved it. And
That's
then it was,
hilarious.
it was so much better than me.
That's so funny.
Sorry about the foul language, but
Oh, it's all good. It's
people try. Yeah, we do the same thing. You think to yourself, man, I had a really good barbecue sandwich in New York. New York, hell, they don't know nothing about barbecue shit. Well, that's how we label people. And California, of course, that's if you want your homosexual connection, or Texas, steers and queers. Everybody knows that, I mean, everything is labeled.
we call Saskatchewan the Gap, and we call them Gappers because you could literally there's a road, it drives straight through Saskatchewan. You never have to turn the wheel. It's
Oh,
just up, down, up, down, up, down, and then you're already in Alberta. You just skip it.
then let's go to PEI, for instance. Let's just tune in on PEI,
Oh
Prince
yeah.
Edward Island.
Oh,
They ain't nothing but damn rednecks over there. I'll tell you, I bet you I could be the mayor of Prince Edward Island if I went up there because I'd be one of their own people. They go, I thought you was bringing in somebody, from down south. Well, because they love beer and I do too. And they love women and I do too.
you'd fit right in, Mac. You would.
I'd fit right in. Oh, me
Yeah.
and old 2-4, we'd go over there and we'd drink a 2-4 ourselves, just getting over there. Go over there to the factory, at Alpine Factory, and get a 2-4.
Oh, and then there's Tourette's here.
We was talking about Huntsville this morning. My buddy Joe come in while we was doing the coffee show, and we got started talking about Huntsville and them moving the Space Command, to Huntsville. That's the most ignorant, backwards thing I ever heard of in my life. And they've got them all armed. They're packing pistols on, and they talk to some of the real astronauts that's been in space, and they go, "Why in the hell? If you ever imagine shooting a gun in space, now you see all them space cadets, they shoot laser beams and stuff. All right, if you got a little bottle of compressed air and you're an astronaut and you're in the middle of your cabin, you pull that trigger, that air is going to blow you backwards.
Oh
You
yeah.
fire a big old pistol in space. First of all, how are you going to get the air to burn the powder in the shell? It has to be ignited. You got a primer there, but what's going to make it burn? It don't explode by itself. It has
Yeah.
to have oxygen to burn. So dumbass people are putting weapons on astronauts, strutting around there looking like a bunch of look like damn Hollywood stuff. Buck Jones, Buck Rogers. I get
Well,
so upset that.
I believe the Russians, I think, were the only people to really develop a gun that could shoot in space. And I'm trying to remember how it worked. Uh, but it
I
was
believe
different.
we probably have them. I'm sure we probably shoots energy balls or something. But remember, for every
Nowadays,
option, there's an
now.
equal an opposite reaction. So if you put 10 pounds of force going that way, you got 10 pounds coming back. I mean, you'd be bouncing all over the cabins. And especially you get a goober up in there like on old Andy Griffin's show. Old Barney, he'd shoot his one bullet inside the capsule. Get the damn capsule start spinning around and tumbling all over. Dumbest thing I ever heard of is arming astronauts. But hey, look, I mean, there's some dumb. That's the reason they picked Alabama because they figured we'd be so damn dumb if we'd accept that as a way of life. You go, oh, yeah, we should have been arming them all along. Them goddamn aliens out there, you know. Hell, we're going to build a wall around America. Got to keep them out. I'm in Alabama, where everything is possible.
Oh, do you have any questions for me?
Um, and obviously you enjoy doing this. You, yeah, I like your whole premise. You know, where you get a little one-on-one with people. Um, I, I, I just did something this week. I really take pleasure in. You know, I do the songwriting thing, right?
Yep, yep, yep.
Okay, so I've got over 1,000 songs I've written this year. There's a YouTube channel called Murphy's Diesel. Murphy's Diesel, and he's out of Arizona. Greatest guy, I'm telling you, just a good human being. Big old boy. I mean, he's a big old boy. He's got a whole bunch of big old boys around him, you know, big old truck driving big guys, you know. Um, I've been watching for a while, but my buddy Dave in Australia said, "Have you ever seen this Murphy's Diesel?" I thought, well, "Yeah, I did. But I had never made a comment about it, and I had not joined them. You know, I hadn't subscribed. I just watched them on TV, and so I've subscribed to them. I've been watching them. I pretty well got caught up on the movies, but I wrote him a song and sent it to him. And this week on his when they've been off the air for a little while doing a lot of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, when they posted the first movie this week video, they used my music in the
Oh,
video. I was really proud of that. I like
that's
that.
awesome.
And I got a nice letter from the wife today from Murphy's Diesel thanking me for the song.
Oh, that was awesome. Yeah, I like that. Oh, who was it? The Bobbit song you sent me. Oh, what was it? Johnny, something about Johnny there. That was.
Yeah, about the little something about the
Oh,
super cut or something. I don't
yeah,
know.
it was hilarious. I have to look that up again and listen to it.
Uh,
It just reminded me.
I've been having fun with it, and I've wrote something like the Forgotten Angels in Florida, which is a big thing down here, where you've got people that reaches 18 years of age, and
Yeah,
all
I
they
know what.
yeah, you know, all they've been in is in a foster home from one foster home to another, because not all foster homes really take care of the kids. They're there for the
Yeah.
money. They make their money. When you get 18 and when the money cuts off, your ass is out the door on the street with your suitcase in your hand. And I wrote a song about them this week, and because there's people that's trying to do something about that. Dave and Cindy down there at the Forgotten Angels, they've been now the encampment comes up this month, and oh, there's so many people going down. It's getting bigger and bigger every year.
Well,
More
Dave,
we
I
do,
believe, is from Montreal originally, if I'm correct.
Dave. uh,
Yeah, I
I,
believe he's from Montreal, Quebec, if I'm correct.
I wouldn't. I know he's a really super patriotic American person. He fits in really well down here.
Down there.
Uh, Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's well loved by so many people. I'm talking about people that find it hard to warm up to just everybody, but
Yeah.
people love him. They're just a really good human being.
Well, if he's
And,
not from Quebec, he's definitely Canadian. I'm pretty sure he's Canadian. Or he might even be from Ottawa. I'm trying to remember. There's so many people I hear where they're from, and I get them mixed up.
yeah, so you know they really, I guess, sick. You know, he passed on the song to Dave and Cindy,
Really
so they got a copy of it.
nice.
And I think all we can do for Canada is no exception.
I
You
have
know
the
you
same problems here. I
know,
see it all the time. My friend
absolutely, you
used
got
to have
people
a.
living under bridges. You know that shouldn't have to be living under bridges.
Yeah.
I mean, that's here across any city in America. You got people, and I've had people tell me, well, they want to be there. That's where they want to be. No, they may want to be free to make decisions, but they don't have the money to put them up in that penthouse or live on that beach hut or whatever. They have to live under the bridge.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
I mean, a lot of people think they're just all drug addicts. A lot of people do get involved in drugs and are heavily involved in drugs.
But
But
there's a lot that aren't, and
that's
then they
right.
get perceived as drug addicts.
And the sad part about that flag right back there, there's a lot of them sleeping under the bridge that fought for this country to make it as powerful as it is today. And there's so many people that are so unappreciative when a military guy comes home and he can't get the medical treatment he needs from the psychological damage from his mind, from all the things he had to see in combat, they're just cast off to the side and they
Yeah,
live under bridges and they ain't wanting to be under there. But that's the only thing that puts them close to the environment they had been in while they was in war. 6 tours of duty and this kind of stuff.
yeah. That's normal to them too. They can handle it, but yeah, it shouldn't be happening like that. And with the same thing up here, our last couple prime ministers have been removing funding from like our veterans and stuff, and it's getting worse and worse up here. But same thing down there, they're pulling funding from the veterans.
Yeah, I'd like to see a lot of that stuff taken care of. You know, the thing is, we can say all the time, and you can look up the facts that we're one of the richest nations in the world. But what's all that money going to do if you've got people that's suffering?
Yeah, exactly.
How shameful is that to the richest people in the world to not even take a moment? What made them rich was these people that work for them. And a lot of them ends up under the bridge after they lose their homes or serve in war and they're broken and they're no longer can be a part of society. They end up sleeping under a bridge, and yet we're proudly brag about being the wealthiest country in the world.
Yeah, yeah,
To me, that's
and
so sad.
yeah. It was crazy how everything is right now.
Oh, he's got to go. You got him. You got.
I live in an RV over here on stage. I live in an RV, although by choice, it seems to be the best way to live decently on disability, a disability pension.
Oh, yeah. I I I can understand. In fact, I would like to see they'd start a program where they would set up like a trailer encampment, for veterans when
Yeah, or
they
trailer
lost.
parks or something like that,
Yeah, they're
specifically.
dedicated just for veterans and would have facilities there to handle the needs of the veteran. The handicapped veteran, and yeah, I'd like to see that, but it's never going to happen because it's so much better to have a war. War is more exciting. When you start doing stuff for the people begin to get lazy. You got to make them work. If you're going to make them happy, you
Oh,
got to make them work.
it, do you have safe injection sites down there? Up here in Canada, they got safe injection sites. So now they give you like, this is the bad part, okay? They just give you needles. So now it should be a needle exchange. So you give me your dirty needles, right? And then I'll give you that many clean needles back. But now they're just letting them go and do drugs even more. And they're saying that, oh, we're helping these people because now we don't have to worry about HIV and all this other stuff as much. Wrong. Just because you're giving them clean needles doesn't mean that you're preventing that stuff. And that's what they're doing here. Like there's a safe injection site a half an hour from here in Brandon, Manitoba, and it's disgusting.
We live in a place, Alabama. I'm going to show you how backward we are here. One little joint behind your ear can get you a year.
Oh,
You don't
that
get
stuff.
well, you don't get to do that stuff here. You don't get to do that. There's a When we first got to Alabama, there was a lady, her husband was dying, and they gave him medicine to take till he died, painkillers. And she had 2 bottles of it left over. And she was hard up after her husband died, and she sold the 2 bottles of medicine at a really low price. I mean, like $10 for $300 worth of medicine. She
Yeah.
got 5 years. I mean,
selling narcotics.
Oh yeah, like she was like a big wheeler dealer.
So you pretty much drink beer, drink hard liquor. That's pretty much, and smoke cigarettes.
I don't smoke nothing anymore. I I think the last joint we had was up in Washington. And Joe comes there.
At your sister's place.
Yeah, we all got really shit faced up there the first night we got there. We loaded up on gummies and started smoking indica Kush. We were we were having dreams, man. Uh, I tell you what I did. I packed me a whole bunch of drugs to bring them home because Washington, it's a supermarket. You walk in any little town, drugs everywhere. And so I had a big Clorox container that has these Clorox wipes. So you wipe your hands on a Clorox rag,
Yeah.
a towel. And we took all that out and left a couple of them, and then packed all of the stuff in bags, sealed bags, and put them inside the container, and then put the foil and everything back in there, and then put the towels back in on the top of it, so that the dog sniffers at every one of those places, they bring the dog over and check you when you come out of washing. The dog come running over. But see, they back up when they smell that Clorox. They go,
Yeah.
And so, all right, so we made it all the way to Clinton, Oklahoma, with a large load. I was going to get everybody high in my county. I ain't kidding you. It got down all the way to Clinton, Oklahoma, and we left out that morning. And I remember we were taking stuff out of the room, and I saw her get the big
Clorox.
container of drugs because we ate some gummies that night. So I saw her take it. She set it up on the car till she got the trunk open.
Oh.
Oh yeah. When we drove out of the parking lot, blah 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 blah, it rolled off. Now somebody seen that old Clorox jug laying over there with towels in it and just tossed it in the garbage.
Oh.
Yeah. Already ready, rolled.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's probably for the best. It's probably
Yeah,
for the best.
that stuff, it might have killed me. I might be sleeping under a bridge.
I have a buddy, he's 76 years old, has been smoking marijuana since he was 16 years old. His brother was super clean. He'd never drank, never smoked, never did drugs. His sister did the same thing, totally clean, and he's done every drug in the world. And like his sister and brother, they've been dead for like 10 years. Like,
Oh,
but he's done every freaking bad thing you could imagine, and he just won't die.
I've got friends in Washington. They have been doing this for so many years, long before when we was young. I was going to college, and we'd just go out and take our breaks, and we'd smoke out there, and it made the day go by so good. We'd go fishing out in any of the lakes, bass fishing or trout fishing, and smoke a joint. But it was all homegrown. Your shirt would have holes all in it where the seeds would pop, and burn your shirt, and and you'd have to keep looking over your shoulder when you bought it. And finally, they legalized it, and it's everywhere. In fact, we was in Parkland, Washington, this last year, and in Parkland, Washington, there's a huge drug outlet, a big uh, what do they call them?
Dispensary?
Dispensary. Yeah, big dispensary and gun shop, all in one building. Guns and drugs, man. They don't get no better than that.
Hey,
Hell,
well,
I
nobody's
started
gonna rob them for their drugs.
gun. I took a picture of the building. Nobody would ever believe that in Alabama. Of course, in Alabama, you go to prison for everything. There's a law against everything. I'm probably breaking the law now.
I was coming out of Alberta, and there's this gas station in the middle of nowhere. Next door is this super store of liquor. There was like, I've never seen a liquor store like this. They had everything in the world you could imagine right next to this gas station in the middle of nowhere. And it's like, like, where are the cops? Like, why aren't the cops just sitting here? Because as soon as somebody leaves that gas station, they're drinking. You just know.
Oh my, yeah, we when I moved here, we bought this house. This is a part of an old plantation that my family and another family had in the mid 1800s. Let's see, in 18 1967, 2 years after the war. The people that lived here, they come across the river and married my relatives and brought them over on this side. And they shared their land because my relatives owned everything on the other side of the creek, and these people owned everything on this side of the creek. And now I got my little place here back on the original plantation. My last relative lived right behind my house, 400 feet until 1923, and she
That's
moved
pretty
to
cool.
Jefferson County. Yeah,
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, not a lot of people get to buy their like childhood home kind of like kind of style like that, eh?
yeah. The old the elder here, he's gone now. He took me down to the river and he showed me when he was dating one of my relatives when he was dating her at the end of the war of World War II. He was dating her, and he carved her in the tree down there, and he showed me a lot of the family members where they had carved, and their little stuff in the trees are still there. The trees are over 100 years old.
That's beautiful, man. That
And
is.
then in 2011, we had an EF5 tornado came and
Oh,
took everything out. There ain't nothing left. I mean, I'm talking about everything. It was half mile wide at the bottom. Time it got to me, 68 people had already been killed. It was raining bodies out of the sky. When it crossed Highway 78, the bodies are dropping down onto the ground. And my cousin's house, she's got a big old 3-story brick home over there. She had it came across my place and it landed 2 miles over here on County Road 35. I mean, it took it all away and dumped it over there on 35, pulled up all the grass up out of the yard. That's EF5, 300
that's
mile per hour winds.
that's pretty crazy.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. And I
we're
took
starting.
pictures of it. I took pictures of it as it's coming right at me. 5:20 in the afternoon.
Yeah, we're starting to get tornadoes up here too. I don't think until 1997, 98, I think was the first tornado we had around here at all.
You know,
It's
we
just
fired.
unheard of.
Are you familiar with the HARP project?
Oh, 100%.
Oh,
HARP, yeah.
yeah.
Gerald Bull's HARP and the other high altitude research phenomenon.
We were part of the big project up in Alaska, and what we did, what was really important, we had to be able to have communications during a nuclear blackout. During the big
Yeah,
if the
yeah.
big war happened, we had to have some way of communicating with our troops. And they said, "What if we created an artificial aurora?" And they go, and they
And
got
he
together.
decoded it.
So they went up there and they send all this energy. I think it was somewhere around 432 megahertz, but
Yeah.
they sent it all up, millions of watts of power, 10,000 feet up. It heated the air temperature to 2,000 degrees. And they did this project for many years. And guess what happened? The jet stream moved because you had such a large, at that high altitude,
Hi.
so much
Yeah.
air
All that.
volume
Yeah.
expanded so much it pushed the jet stream down, and then all of a sudden weather began to change. There ain't no way you can't suck it back. An explosion can push, but it has no way of sucking back. And everybody likes a lot of suction, but there's none in an explosion. Mostly expansion, and it moved the jet stream, and we've been dealing with this for many many years. Over in Russia, for instance, there's lakes that where the boats used to be, you'd have to now travel 25 miles to get to the water.
Because
Um,
it shifted the water.
it shifted the rain patterns, and they don't get the rain, and it's like the Gobi Desert over there. It just sort of dried everything up.
Uh,
Um, yeah, and look how fast the Sahara is growing across northern Africa. Here in Alabama, we get bombarded every year from African dust. I mean, the air quality gets so bad they give you warnings about the dust coming from Africa. Across the Atlantic Ocean, that's how much dust is being blown.
that's
And
crazy.
can you imagine if we irradiated that, set off nuclear bombs in that area? You can see how the
Yeah, the
particles.
isotopes would stick to those
Yeah,
granules and
that's
shift.
right. And they'd
Yeah.
be everywhere, in the grass, everywhere.
Oh, if that's not happening already.
Well, we had. You remember when we had the? I think it was at 2009 or what, when Japan had that big tsunami over there,
The
and it
Fukushima
damaged the
disaster.
nuclear. Yeah, that's right. When it damaged that reactor over there, 3 years you could not drink milk in Washington State. It had to be brought in from out of state because the grass had such a high yield of radiation. Because all your tropical rain, all the rains that came across on the Japanese current come right down through Seattle.
Yeah,
That's
I
the reason it's the
remember that.
rainiest place in the world, and they get a lot of rain there.
Yeah, I remember that milk import. That was very interesting. And
Yeah,
now we have to worry about our seafood.
yeah. Well, I mean, the mercury content, like in tuna, that's one of my used to be one of my favorite foods, and now I try to back off on eating.
Yeah, I know.
Uh,
My favorite too.
and now um, they're finding radiation up in Williams Lake in the Kamloops, the big landlocked trout or salmon, actually
Yeah,
big
yeah.
50 pounders, and now the meat is deteriorated to the point it's not even good canning meat. You can still eat it fresh, but
Not the same.
yeah, you just can't can it like they used to. Some of the best salmon in the world comes from that side of the country over in Alaska.
Yeah. And now it's all tainted.
Yeah, that's how things just change up. And look at the wonderful thing that we did, Montesano, and I think Simplot and Montesano got together and they said we can give you better living through chemicals. So they came up with this thing called GMO, genetically modified.
Modified.
Okay, so companies like McDonald's, 800,000 acres of potatoes for their French fries,
Where I live is
genetically
one of the leading
modified.
producers of potatoes for McDonald's. They're
That,
produced not too far from me, those French fries.
that's right. And people would then things begin to start happening. The amount of dementia, the amount of children being born that's autism, and those things,
Autism. Yeah.
yeah, has been connected to the genetic modified foods. Now, you down in Mexico, when they planted the genetically modified corn to be able to grow in a dry, arid place, like in some of the places in Mexico,
Yeah.
when the corn tasseled, when the spore or the pollen come out of
Yeah.
the tassel, it killed the indigenous masa. And the people in Mexico prefers masa, for making their corn, their meal.
Masa, for you guys don't know, that's the colored corn, and it's multicolored. Uh, and masa, it's also a bacteria that grows on this corn, if I'm correct too.
Yeah, it's something that they regard. They would, and then when it began to kill that off, they found that the genetic modified corn, the Pacific, the seeds for planting, it was killing off the indigenous grasses. They found this in Nebraska. They found this in the prairie states.
Oh,
So a lot of times when you start messing around with Mother Nature, it'll bite you in the backside.
well,
And
Monsanto's went after a lot of farmers up here in this area because what they wanted to do is they wanted to reseed their fields with the seeds they had gained from last year. And Monsanto's was like, no, you're not doing that, or we're going to take you to court because technically those are our seeds. You have, if you want to regrow your field, you have to repurchase fresh seeds from us. So they're constantly modifying the seeds.
yeah,
Well, Roundup Ready, what does that mean? You spray it with Roundup, it won't kill the plant, but then you eat it later. Hence Roundup Ready. Thank you, Monsanto's.
yeah, better living through chemistry. And we all bought it. I mean, people in the 50s was hooked on TV dinners.
Oh,
Nothing finer than sitting there watching Mayberry RFD or something like that, and heat up a TV dinner in the oven. But the chemicals in that meal has done more damage to the people's immune system that if you just look on the package, how much chemicals are in that one little tray of food. That's it's
yeah.
unbelievable.
I stay away from all that stuff, even including McDonald's. I swear McDonald's just 3D prints all their food and then they send it like the bun is 3D printed, sent out. Like something's not right about that food.
I love food, as you know. I do a lot of cooking and
Oh yeah.
I watch a lot of food channels. I I watched a guy the other day was mass producing hamburgers in I believe he was in Korea, and he has this mold opens up like 2 cups, and he pours some of this batter on both sides, and somehow what happened that it makes like 2 sides of the cup. And then when they bake, then he opens them up. He fills them full of goodies, and then you put them back together for that final bacon, and then it joins back together, and you got a hamburger that big
And
around,
it's sealed.
and it's all sealed, and you don't need to know. You just eat it right now. The very I wanted to be one of them in the worst sort of way.
Oh, well, with me and Sandra, we're probably going to do that next. Seen that the other day. I definitely want to try that. I
Oh,
do a lot of cooking. Like Sandra is known as the pierogi lady. She makes cabbage rolls,
oh, I
pedishka,
love cabbage
uh,
rolls.
pierogies, like all different types of pierogies. And like just the other day, I made apple pie filling, prepping everything for Thanksgiving next weekend. Canadian Thanksgiving was last weekend, but we're having it this weekend.
Yeah.
So I'm doing all this food prep right now. But I
Hey,
love cooking.
we got a lot of people in over here. Maybe if anybody has a question for old Mac or Robin,
Hey,
uh,
riding
by
on
all means,
ready.
put it out there. Fly,
Jordan,
throw it out there and see if does it stick.
does it stick? Anyone got any questions? Cam, CDG. Cam, he's from just south of Winnipeg, Manitoba. So he's another Canadian in the house. He does metal detecting stuff. So he goes and finds. The other day, he found a medal, but not a war medal, like soccer medal, something like that. But yeah, Cam goes around, does metal detecting.
You know, I told you my buddy Joe came over this morning, and as we were talking, um, he broke the news. We're all ham radio operators. One of our ham operators passed away. Then we were really close, good friends. I'm talking about we had years. Um, he just passed away in February of this year. I just learned about it today,
Oh, that.
and oh yeah. Now that's the only bad part about getting old is you're always constantly losing people. Yeah, he come over to share the news, and this guy was the Mister Everybody. He could do anything. He was one of them kind of guys that um, he was a truck driver all of his life, but he did a lot of other things as well. You know, this um, he was really I'm sure he's really well missed. I don't have any of my radio equipment up anymore, but what a shocker that was to find out somebody that I had been knowing for so many years. And of course, the way it is, nobody ever says anything because they don't get on the phone and call around. But yeah,
Damn
just
ham radio people. You can't use the phone.
no, yeah, he was an interesting guy. He grew exotic chickens, and he grew every kind of goat. He had those little fainting goats, and he had little pygmy goats, and he had goat. And we went over there. Me and a guy named Jimmy Deal. We went over there and loaded my truck up full of goats. And they got a picture of me riding one of them big old billy goats. I was up there and I had hold of his horn. That thing was a bucking, and they made a video of me riding a billy goat.
Oh, that's pretty funny. Yeah, I grew up around a farm, so spent half of my time in the city and then half of my time in the farm, back and forth, back and forth. Nothing like milking a goat.
Oh, well, you've only got two udders, so
Yeah.
two tits.
Yeah, cleaning chicken
I've
coop
done
and
that
stuff.
too. I'm going to tell you, I was so thankful that I drank so much goat milk when I was young. I didn't even know what a health food it was, how healthy goat milk. It is really, most people can't get past the smell of the goat. And I was
Yeah.
born without the ability to smell. I've never smelt any, never. Um, I used to milk that goat, and I used to love to put it on cornflakes. The milk was creamier,
Yeah.
and all my brothers sit, they go, "Oh, get that old goat milk away!" And but
We
I'm
used
glad
to pasteurize our milk. Uh, I, was it pasteurized? We did some type of sterilization. I don't think it was pasteurization though. I'm trying to remember what we had. It was a weird like kiln kind of pot that I don't know cooked it, and then we'd have it. But yeah, that's pretty crazy.
had to bring it up so much heat on it, I guess, to get rid of the bacteria. They've made it a law now. You can't drink whole milk from a cow anymore. It's against the law here in
Oh,
where
but
we
it's
live.
so good. I
I know.
It's so good. You want it like homogenized milk? No, it's like almost like cream.
Yeah. It makes the best ice cream in the world.
Oh,
That
oh,
real cow milk does.
yeah, that's one thing I miss. There's 2-4 saying he never grew up.
And ain't going to either.
He's gonna do his thing the way he wants. He's never gonna grow up.
Yeah, there's just so many good people in the world. I mean, through this, through the ham radio. In fact, I just got a card today. I got a card from a fellow today. Um, in a far off never land. I mean, only two of us in America has ever worked him, been able to communicate with him, and it took us a long time to get it done. And I got a card from him today, and he mailed me the card in 2021. That's when we made the contact. I just got the card today because our country is isolated, and it's also forbidden them to trade with America, and because we're like assholes of the world. So
Oh,
uh, they had to go through backdoor channels to get the card out so we can. I don't know how we'll ever. We have a connection, an electronic connection called QRZ that we can go and send stuff, and it may take another 6 or 8 months before it ever gets to them. But
oh, that's pretty crazy.
well, the cost of postal services in other country are just outrageous. I
We
sent
don't even have postal service. We were on strike again,
oh,
like second time in 2 years.
our
Or-
country is shut down, so we don't. Everything's shut down here.
Oh, yeah. The world is slowly coming to an end.
Somehow we'll manage to survive. When I was younger, I used to worry about all them things, and that's the least of my worries. I really, being from the older generation, I know how to catch a rabbit. I mean, I could set a trap. There's rabbits everywhere, and if Angelique and we went, and there was a huge, massive failure in this country, I could live off the land right here. There's every animal. I got so many raccoons here. I could live for the rest of my life just eating raccoon meat. I would never kill one of them unless it was
I
desperation.
know you'd never kill one of your raccoons. Yeah.
No, I had a picture. My Dr. Kobe, he got the biggest kick out of it. I took a picture. I made a picture in AI of a raccoon sitting here with a dental mirror in the edge of my mouth. And the doctor, he was like the dental assistant to the doctor. Oh, Kobe, he got the biggest kick out of that. I sent it to him. I emailed him the copy of the picture.
That's
I got
pretty
my
funny.
raccoons working on my teeth.
Oh, deadly. Well, I'm gonna probably wrap this up, Mac. This
I
was
appreciate you letting me come on and spend some time with you.
no, thank you again. Thank you again for coming on, man. I just threw it out there, and like me, as just the type of person I am, I'll throw out a question, and if I don't get a yes or a no, then that's fine with me. But I always ask, because if you don't ask, you'll never know.
That is your Canadian heritage. You people
Yeah,
are so polite.
yeah.
It
Don't
really is. It's deep rooted. You can't get away from it. Like saying A. Now you'll slip an A in there every once in a while. You can't resist it.
No, can't
Give me
resist.
one little quick A.
Uh,
How you
okay,
feeling? You feeling? Yeah,
okay.
go
Let me see what you're talking about there, eh?
ahead.
You have to say it in a phrase. You can't just say a.
Yeah,
It has
yeah. It has to have
you,
something connected to it.
Yeah, it just slips in. Uh, don't mean anything, but it's almost like the Chinese and their ayas.
Uh,
But anyways, Mac, again, thank you for
well,
popping in. This was interesting.
2-4, he enjoyed it, and I'm really happy to see people I recognized over there.
Yeah,
And
no, yeah, we're all spread around there, Mac. We're all
let me
spread
let
out
me
there.
tell you a little inside. All my children live on the west side of America, and so they're hours apart from me. So, and they work like regular anybody else. They didn't. I wasn't so well heeled. My kids all living off my income. No, they have to work, so they can only call me on at nights and weekends. Well, I usually don't program anything during the night because you don't see me on any of these other shows at
Yeah,
night because I'm usually involved with my kids on the phone. Because older you get, they begin the fear of losing the person that brought them into this world, and they want to stay connected. And the phone is our little connection. So I always try to leave them. You can see it's still on. If my son would call, I would have had to excuse myself because he is my life. I've got so many children. Each and every one of them are unique in their own way, and I don't miss any of the calls. And I'm not like an old dad sitting around and whining, waiting for the kids to call. It's just something that I really appreciate, and to show my appreciation to them is I try to make my effort to answer their call because they got lives and they want to share everything that's going on, like grandkids being born. I got a little Russian grandson. He married a Russian woman, and she was an attorney over in Russia, and she's living in they're living in Seattle, and her father is an oligarch from Russia that came over during the purge of '89 when they got their independence and got a democracy. He came over and started working for Microsoft. He was working for Microsoft, but now he retired as an executive from Microsoft in Redmond, Washington. And so I've got a little grandson, Henry Alexander, but the grandfather speaks to him in Russian. But this grandfather don't. He likes my southern accent. He calls me old Mac. He's like, I love you, old Mac. He's a big kid,
that's pretty
big
awesome.
Russian. Me and him would be drinking vodka together. Yeah, he'd come
Well,
down. We'll be drinking vodka, I'm sure. Hey, hey. Thank
well,
you, Robin.
no problem. Well, I'll see you on your other chats and stuff like that. We do stay in touch, but yeah, thank you for the show and have a blessed night, man, and have a beer for me, okay?
I'm going to have, in fact, I was going to call her. I had the phone laying here. I was going to call her and have her bring me a frosty cold. I like Yingling. The reason I like Yingling, I'm all about America, and that's America's oldest beer. It's not owned by a German company, or it's not owned by the Japanese or some Saudi corporation. It's American out of Pennsylvania, man. So I drink Yingling for the patriotism and for the little buzz I get out of it. Good night, everybody.
Awesome. Okay, see you all. Have a great night, everyone. Hope you
Bye
all
bye.
enjoyed.